ladies and gentlemen, the Anheuser-Busch CEO has finally disavowed the Dylan Mulvaney ad in private to investors, though he's not made a public statement. Sales are down 26%. They're going to be giving out free cases of beer to distributors, and they've vowed to spend millions of dollars in marketing. But the boycott is particularly effective, I would say. And there's videos now coming out of people at sporting events where the Bud Light is just behind the counter totally full and everyone's buying other brands. So did Ian and Seamus both just leave at the same time?
Yeah, I don't know where they went, but they
ran
did
for
both leave.
So let's jump into this. What are your thoughts on the Budweiser thing?
My thoughts are keep going. You're doing awesome. All of you. I mean this. To every single person protesting Bud Light, fuck yes. I am so here for this. It's fucking amazing.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Budweiser sucks. Anheuser-Busch sucks. It's a massive multinational corporation.
They're super anti-LGBTQ+, so it's been beautiful to see. I love it. Oh, they donate so much to right-wing Republicans who push anti-LGBTQ laws, so Anheuser-Busch getting taken down. Oh, man, I'm so here for it. Keep going.
Me too. Absolutely. Yeah, they think that they can pay off Republicans, they can hire GOP aides, and that is going to be satisfactory for their customers who are upset with them as a brand. So clearly what we can see, where I think we agree, is that Anheuser-Busch is a faceless corporation with no real values that is willing to spit in the faces of the little guy if it earns them a profit. They're a trash company and nobody should buy their products. The left and the right both agree. Here. Unity for once. I hope they fail.
Same thing with Disney. Keep going after Disney. I'm
Absolutely.
all for it. Take Disney down. I'm all for the right wing taking on Disney, all for the right wing taking on Anheuser-Busch. Yes, of course. These are terrible fucking corporations. I'm all here for it. By the way, the Daily Mail is like the number one source on the show, right? Like every single time you pulled it up. Because that same site that you showed me, All Sides Media Bias, it has the Daily Mail on right wing. And I know that you yourself, when you pulled it up.
They're actually fantastic. The Daily Mail.
But if you use them as a primary source, you understand why I'd say that. Like
we don't use them as a primary source.
Okay.
What happens is when we pull up stories, I'll go to like CNN, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, Fox News, ABC, and they'll each have like 300 words. And then you go to the Daily Mail after doing a search on key elements of the story, and the Daily Mail will have like 7 different versions of all breaking down different components. Right. Like if you scroll down the Daily Mail, they often do these special sections where they have entirely different stories within the story, providing more context. Like for instance, this story from the Daily Mail not only talks about the current story with the CEO, but it even goes all the way into all of the context going back to the commercial that was released, the sale drop at 6% in the first week, to the video. It like covers like literally every, even as a photo of the VP and her husband, how in-depth this story is. So it's like if I'm going to pull up a single article, I can pull up 5 ABC, CBS, New York Times, or I can just pull up this one that has seemingly everything in it, including Kid Rock, including John Rich, including Bud Light being poured into a dumpster.
Yeah, it's
a massive aggregator.
Yeah.
But honestly, I have no problem with y'all going after fucking Bud Light. Have a time, go nuts. I have a really big problem with what I feel on this show is a lot of anti-trans hysteria and fear-mongering that takes place.
You want to open that book?
I have that book at home. We can talk about that in a second. And I'm totally comfortable talking about that book. I've read it.
Should it be in schools?
I want to talk to you about the trans issue, though, because
right, and that's why I ask about the book.
Okay,
it opens
we can get to the books and the schools, the curriculums, and everything that Florida's taken away. But you profess to be kind of like fact-based, science-based, right?
Yeah.
Like you pull up. I've noticed you want to pull up stats and figures and stuff like that.
Of course.
Why is it that you push propaganda when it comes to trans people?
Like what?
That is so far beyond the pale.
Like what?
Okay, let's start with gender-affirming care. Mm-hmm. Gender-affirming care, you're very, very against. I've heard you call it mutilation.
I don't call it mutilation. I've never said that.
That's what you say on your show.
I do.
No, I don't.
I don't know if he does. I call it mutilating children.
I call it child sex change.
When you were talking about Dwayne Wade moving his family,
someone in the crowd said, "Why are you mutilating your son?" That was a quote from someone else. I didn't say that. But then you made. And I've explicitly said I don't take the right agitator approach of calling it mutilation because that's not effective in having a conversation. I will plainly call it a child sex change as what it is. I'm not going to call it gender affirming or mutilation because I don't think those things accurately explain what it is.
Okay, so when it comes to gender affirming care. 0 to about 10.
Are you talking about child sex change?
No, I'm talking about gender affirming care. 0 to about 10 years old.
You got to define it.
The answer is yes.
You got to define it, okay? Because if you're talking about something different, tell us what you're talking about.
All right, so if someone is trans and they're young and until they're about 10 years old before they go through puberty, gender affirming care would be in the form of you using different pronouns, preferred pronouns, and allowing them to dress differently.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
Do you have a problem with that? Does anyone here?
Yes, I do.
I don't.
Okay, so both of you don't.
Right.
Okay, so do you accept that there is no surgery being performed on children at that age, from 0 to about 10? There's nothing, there's no hormone blockers, there's no puberty blockers?
There is hormone blockers. I don't think surgery is happening on kids under 12.
So hormone blockers aren't given to children until they go through puberty.
That's not true. We actually pulled this up with Destiny. He actually called me out. I was wrong about a stat.
Okay.
What we found was 47,000 cross-sex hormones. I think it was something like 17,000 puberty blockers and like 2,000 double mastectomies for girls after the age of 13 or whatever. But
so that doesn't apply to anything I just said.
Puberty blockers were preteen. Puberty blockers.
Yes, puberty blockers.
They have to because they have to give them the puberty blockers before puberty starts.
Yes, of course.
Right.
So you're just reaffirming what I just said. From 0 to 10 till you're about to go through puberty, gender affirming care only comes in the form of using different pronouns, using different names, allowing them to dress differently, and that's it. And you don't have a problem with that.
Wait, Lupron too?
Okay, so we'll get to Lupron, but up to that point, you don't have a problem with any of this yet, right?
I'm saying,
and you agree that there is no surgery being performed on children at that age. 0 to 10.
Let me just start from the beginning so I can make sure I'm getting what you're saying right.
Yeah.
I don't care if parents call their kids names or whatever. I care about medical or surgical intervention.
Okay, so that doesn't happen until about the age of about 16. That's the average age for.
But you're wrong. Okay, like and look, we had Destiny on the show. We went into great detail about it. There are girls who are 13 who are getting this done, and there was a study. Actually, it was Canadian, I believe. 12 to 17, they had several hundred surgeries performed.
Okay, so again,
I'll
I said the average age, but if you want to say that there are people who get this at 12, that could be the case.
Who would have it? I think
let's start with puberty blockers, Tim. Lupron. You both have a big problem with Lupron?
I don't know a lot about it, but I consider it a medical treatment.
Okay. Yeah, we shouldn't be giving Lupron to kids.
So you don't think you should give Lupron to kids? Why don't you want Lupron being given to trans kids?
Because it's a puberty blocker that inhibits the natural function and development of their body. And more importantly, I think my view is built upon what we've seen out of Europe already, right? So earlier on, maybe a few years ago, I was more agnostic on the issue until Sweden, Denmark, Finland abandoned this and the Tavistock Center got shut down. And the data they released said this actually caused more harm than good. And then I was like, well, okay, hey, how about that? And for some reason, in the United States, they're still hell-bent on moving forward with what we can already see from, better countries with better healthcare systems saying no to this, right?
Okay, so I can address those individually because I have the explanation as to why that happened. When it comes to Lupron, 0 to 10 is about the age where gender-affirming care only comes in the form of different names, pronouns, stuff like that. We can all agree that's completely fine.
We can't. I disagree. I disagree. You three can agree, but I don't.
Fine. Okay, fine. But it's their show, so I just want to concentrate on them for 2 seconds.
My position is more just like, I don't know, man, like social therapy stuff. They say that after puberty, desistance rates are between 65 and like 92%.
Okay, so that's completely false. I'll get to that. We have to do this.
Come on, bro.
We have to do this piece by piece first. Okay.
Oh.
Let's get through Lupron.
Hey, I just proved you wrong. Studies show 10 follow-up studies found desistance of 61 to 98%.
Yeah. Can you click on the Wikipedia article? Detransition topics.
Oh, you're missing the mic. Can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Missing the mic. But
what are the studies? Where are we talking about? I would like to know if you are taking these studies specific. Well, because I have each one of them written down here, and I'm quite curious. Is the Drummond study one of them? Is the Wallen study? Is Stensma, the Swedish study, a part of this? The 2011 study?
Probably. I don't know.
Well, we should know. This is incredibly important for what we're talking about.
It's not. This is 2018. This is Gender Dysphoria in Adolescents, Current Perspectives in the National Library of Medicine.
Okay, scroll down to the conclusion of this one. Just
Want to get the mic again?
Oh, sorry.
You can carry it around with you.
Yeah.
Move it.
I gotta get used to this. Yeah, dog.
I know. Scroll down to the conclusion of the study.
Well, yeah. I mean, I want to at least skim some of the what the numbers and reference are to, like the reference.
While you're skimming, when I think of a little kid
like
being
outcomes,
like a little boy being like
disorders.
I'm a girl. The parent, I would hope that the parent would be like, you can pretend to be whatever you want. You can be an actor. You can play a girl. But I get afraid when a mom's like, he said he's a girl. That means he's trans.
Right. So for this, it's not a process. It doesn't exist in which someone can say, hey, I'm a boy, I'm a girl. And then they go into a doctor's office and like, well, take some Lupron. It's you do years and years of consultation between a doctor and between like a therapist and between the patient itself.
I'm just going to read this.
Sure, of course.
Adolescence is a crucial time for identity and psychosexual development in young people with gender identity concerns. The outcomes of GDC have been discussed in terms of its persistence and desistance. For most children with GDC, whether GD will persist or desist will probably be determined between the ages of 10 and 13 years, although some may need more time. Evidence from the 10 available prospective follow-up studies from childhood to adolescence, reviewed in the study by Ristori and Steensma, indicate that for around
it is Steensma. I was right. I asked if this was Steensma. Okay, I can answer this.
80% of children who meet the criteria for GDC.
Right.
But you said 2011.
Oh, so there's multiple Steensma studies. They've actually built upon each other. And the problem with the Steensma study, unfortunately, is that they actually categorized people who were not trans in that study. They didn't compare people who were trans to people who were trans and then detransitioned. They compared people in the general population.
What's your source? What's your source for that?
The actual author of the study has come out since and said what can
I pull up to confirm that?
Okay.
Because look, I pulled up a study that said a thing. You've made a counterclaim. I will pull it up.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so go to...
Because I don't know who Steensma is.
Okay, so, Steensma, and the problem, I'll say one more thing because I had this written down. 45.3% of the people did not reapply for treatment. They counted that as people who were detransitioning when they weren't, in fact, doing that.
Wait, so can I ask you something?
Yes,
go ahead.
Okay, so he asked for the source. Let's do things in order.
I'm going to respond to what you just said.
Trans advocate.
I need to respond to what you just said right now.
That last point is kind of important to respond to.
Okay.
We're literally talking about desistance.
Right.
If they're including people who desisted, you'd have to get the number of those who desisted.
They included people who did not reapply for treatment. They counted that as someone who was desisting. That's just someone who didn't show up again.
That's
literal
desistance.
No, it's not. It's not.
That's literal desistance.
Not whatsoever, Tim. That is someone who has decided they just don't want to go talk to that doctor or experience things with that doctor. They could have gone off to a different doctor. They could have done something else. But that is not someone who has verifiably said, I was trans, I'm no longer trans. That's just people who did not show up.
Your thing.
Okay. So go to transadvocate.com/
I'm not going to, I need a study or something, not an advocacy website.
Okay,
I pulled up a scientific study for you. I'm not pulling up a nonprofit
Good job.
advocacy group.
This is an interview with the person who did the study in this article.
I have pulled up a scientific study for you.
And the person who did, and I'm challenging you with the person who did the fucking study. And
but you're telling me to pull up an advocacy website, which is not on par with a scientific study. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.